everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Sorry for being gone for like a year and a half, but I'm back, and today I'm just going to talk about bullet journaling and like the basics and what I've gotten over the years. I've been bullet journaling for about 4 years now, almost 4 years, and so I've got some opinions on like what I like and what I don't like, what I recommend, and so I'm just gonna talk about bullet journaling, I guess. So let's get started. Off with talking about brush pens because that's like a big category. There's a good chance you've heard about Tombow brush pens. I have the Tombow Fudenoskis and Tombow dual brush pens, which are like the main ones when it comes to like their brush pens. So Tombow dual brush pens are like a bigger tip, as you can see here, whereas Fudenoskis are smaller, like significantly smaller, you can tell. So dual brush pens, there's a lot of controversy of whether they're good for beginners or not. Personally, I think they're fine for beginners. The first brush pen I ever used and learned calligraphy with was Tombow dual brush pens. The thing is, they are a bit expensive, and when you're a beginner, when I was a beginner, I didn't really know how to handle them all that properly, so I was a bit like aggressive with them, and they frayed really quickly. But if you're careful with them, it should be good, and when you're a beginner, if you want, you can go for something cheaper, because these are a bit expensive, and get used to those, and then you'll have a better chance of being a little more careful with Tombows, because now when I get Tombows, they last a lot longer, because I know how to handle them. So I'm going to write with them and show you, just to show the difference in sizes. The Fudenoski colors pack that I have, they're all hard tip, and there's difference in hard tip and soft tip when it comes to Fudenoskis. Hard tip I think is better for beginners because it's a little more controlled and easier to use. But as you get better at calligraphy, a lot of people, including me, end up liking soft tip better, because I personally just think that like once you become more like familiar with calligraphy and you prefer to get a little more like stylish, I guess, with your calligraphy, soft tip gets better because it's like kind of more freedom in how much you can write. It's a little more flowy, I guess. I still really like hard tip. I like using hard tip in my bullet journal when I'm writing small things like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and stuff, but soft tip for when I'm doing like big Bible verse pages because it just flows better for like bigger words like that. Hard tip, soft tip is completely up to personal preference though. Mine kind of changes depending on what I'm doing. I love them both. So it just depends on how much, just what you're gonna do with it, honestly. So I use them for different purposes. Probably Fudenoskis would be better for beginner bullet journalers, specifically in a bullet journal, but for just learning calligraphy, I think both are perfectly fine. Prismacolor obviously makes a lot of things. I personally don't use colored pencils a lot, but I think that their colored pencils are very good. I have the 36 pack. I'm going to talk about their brush pens though. So I got their brush pens, one of their brush pens as a beginner. I got their black one, and I don't know if it was just me not being a great calligrapher at the start, but they frayed and went out in like a week. So I don't think they're great for beginners because of how easily they fray. So now, what's I really like for bullet journaling, which a lot of you, again, have probably heard of this one, is Zebra mild liners. Zebra, I really like the Zebra brand. I like a lot of this. They're mild liners. Basically, they're like highlighters that are like just kind of lighter, milder colors. Mild liners are really good. I'd say they're better for like coloring in and like coloring small bullet journal art. But when it comes to highlighting things that you wrote with pens, they're not great because mild liners are very, very prone to smudging. I use mild liners a lot when I'm taking notes. The thing about using mild liners to take notes is that you do want pens that won't smudge with them unless you want to highlight under. So when I'm taking notes with mild liners, I use Sarasa mark-ons. Literally the best black gel pens I've ever used. They're from Zebra, so definitely huge recommendation of mine is Sarasa mark-on. So I also have the Sarasa R's because they come in more colors. They smudge a little bit, but like not as much as other pens would. So I'd say if you really just need like a good black pen that won't smudge under anything, definitely Sarasa mark-on. Now I'm going to talk about Sakura jelly rolls, which are another big popular one out there, and what I think about them. So I have the white jelly rolls, which are like the very popular ones because like people like having white pens, and I also have I don't remember what the pack was called, but it's like the sparkly ones. But I really like the jelly rolls. They are like very, very, very smooth to write with. I'd say these are some of the smoothest pens I've ever written with. And also if you make like small little mistakes, which I do all the time in my bullet journal, you can go in and kind of adjust corners with the white jelly roll. So the thing about this for like note taking and stuff, I have not tried them specifically for note taking because I don't have a black one, but I saw on a YouTube comment one day that someone said that if you can highlight over jelly rolls after about 10 seconds and with mild liners and it won't smudge at all. And like I said, mild liners smudge with everything, and these are like super thick and super smooth and stuff, and so I was like, there's no way. And then I tried it and it was true. I think it's fun. I think it's a cool idea. So if that's something you want to try, go for it. That's cool. So these are watercolor pens. I had a brief like watercolory phase for some time. I don't watercolor that much, and I got them thinking I could do calligraphy with them, but because these are like watercolor pens, right? And so think of like a paintbrush. So like paintbrushes, you know, the tops like aren't like perfectly like thin like how tombow Fudonoskis and stuff are. Using watercolor pens for calligraphy is possible. I've done it before. It's not the easiest thing in the world. I've been doing this for a while and I still think it's very hard to do calligraphy with watercolor brush pens. Definitely, if you're a beginner looking for brush pens, if you see anything that says watercolor brush pens, don't get those if you're looking for calligraphy to do, because that's not going to help you. It's going to be very hard. So I have these bullet journal like calendar stamps. They're like stamps, except they're not like, you know, felt. They're like jelly-ish sort of thing. So there's a lot of different ways if you don't like drawing the individual calendars. There's like washi tapes out there that have little calendars on them. There's these stamps. You can make stickers, you can get stickers. And like, I'm not great at using these, which is why I don't use them often. But like, they're definitely a good option if you really don't like writing all those calendars over and over again, because I get that can be tedious. And then other things when it comes to bullet journal, like accessories, washi tape is a big thing. I have like these. I use them. They're really good to like fill up space that just looks a little too empty. If you make a mistake, you can put washi tape over it. Washi tape is kind of just a good decoration, just kind of for fun thing to have for your bullet journal and in your collection. So I like to use scrapbook papers in my bullet journals, especially if I'm doing collage-y sort of thing. If you're like not much of a drawing type of person, if you don't really like to draw, collaging in your bullet journal is totally a great idea if you want to decorate it. The last thing I'm going to talk about in this video about bullet journaling is the literal journal. I haven't actually used that many brands because, like I said, I have been doing this for 4 years. I've only used Archer and Olive and like this other one from Walmart. These, if you're starting out, I'd say definitely don't go for like Archer and Olive and stuff like right when you start out, because you want to see if you really like it first. These are just from Walmart. Like, when you're starting out, just get any bullet journal from like Walmart, Costco. Keep in mind the color of the pages. If you want the pages to be white, check that they're white. If you like them in like the nice warm cream color like these, then that is totally cool too. If you want to be using like whiteout and stuff, or like jelly rolls, if you think that's going to be something you're going to end up doing a lot, like correct mistakes, then you probably want to go for white. And so yeah, I'm just going to talk about what I think about Archer and Olive, because it's the one it's what I'm using. They are very expensive, but I personally make them last to the whole year. So instead of getting like 2 bullet journals for 1 year, I just get one. Archer and Olive bullet journal pages are like 160 GSM. The pages are very, very, very thick. Like when you have normal paper, it's like that thick, right? And then when you have Archer and Olive bullet journal paper, each one is like a piece of cardstock, or even thicker maybe. Some people might not like that. If you don't like the idea of having like really thick pages, then I'd say maybe not go for Archer and Olive. The thing about Archer and Olive, what's good about, in my opinion, having thick pages is that like nothing bleeds. I mean, if you use like the Crayola paint pens and stuff, that's gonna bleed. I've tried some permanent markers in there before and they do bleed, so like I guess it depends on the permanent marker, but it's not really often that you use permanent marker in a bullet journal, at least not often that I do. I've never really had a problem with anything in Archer and Olive bleeding. There was a time at school where I did not realize I had a water bottle in my bag and I had my bullet journal in my bag, and without realizing it, the entire water bottle leaked and spilled all over the bottom half of my bullet journal. I go to my next class and I start like taking things out and I see my bullet journal in there and it's like wet. Oh my gosh, my bullet journal. Because like obviously everything I've drawn in there, it was an Archer and Olive bullet journal though. I did not think they would be so good at resisting all that water. It was left unharmed. You don't even see anything. Like it completely covered like the bottom part of the pages, but there's like no smudging. Obviously on the pages where I use like watercolor and stuff, there's a little bit of smudging, but like Archer and Olive is like super resistant. And there's obviously a ton of other brands out there that have like thick pages and just like in general. That's just my thoughts on Archer and Olive in case you've heard of it and you just kind of want to know. Kind of like the basic things I've got to say about bullet journaling. There's obviously a lot more I could say, but I think that's all I'm going to say for this video. Be sure to check out my Instagram, Annice Bullet Journal, for like bullet journaling ideas, all my spreads, how to calligraphy, and just I do a lot of Bible verses. Definitely, there's a lot of Bible content on my bullet journal account, and so be sure to check that out. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!